I was able to have peace for the first time like I had never felt before, ever.
Sometimes life's biggest storms give you the most beautiful rainbows. We are Chasing Rainbows.
If you're new here, welcome. I'm Christina. Let me also introduce you to our newest family member. This is Penny May. Penny May joined our family not long ago after we lost our sweet little Mimi, our Yorkie. After she passed away, we adopted Penny. Anyways, that's one of the reasons Christmas is hard this year. But Christmas for me is a lot better this year. Holidays in general have been a lot different. And that is because I have been putting in so much work. I don't know how many years of counseling and things I went through. It was decades, and I just never felt like I was getting anywhere. And I'm going to talk to you more about what did provide me that peace and that life transformation, because I feel like my life is so much different than what it was, especially as somebody who lived with PTSD. And yes, I say that in past tense. I really struggled with flashbacks and nightmares and just anxiety, and I felt like my past was always a part of my present, if that makes sense. And if you're somebody that struggles with PTSD, that probably makes a lot of sense to you. I've had a lot of people say to me over the years when I've told them like Christmas is really hard to walk through, or Thanksgiving, or any holiday, but Christmas has always been the hardest. And I honestly didn't know why it was such a struggle for me in the beginning, because I think I just closed so many doors in my past and I didn't want to open them to actually see how Christmas was kind of intertwined with a lot of the trauma I had. And so until I went and started opening those doors and letting God in and helping me actually work through a lot of that trauma, I didn't see real change until then, or even actually have the answers as to why Christmas was so hard. But I just knew that as soon as the holiday season would come around, when I would start to hear Christmas music or see Christmas decorations, or even when it came to putting up a Christmas tree, which was always a struggle for me, I didn't really know what the cause of those feelings were. I just knew it stirred up something that really bothered me, like a feeling of like fight or flight. Like I just didn't want to be around it. It was like feeling like the walls were closing in on me, because it was just a message to me that Christmas is coming, and it's coming sooner, and you're not going to be able to stop it, and you're not going to be able to get away from it. And as much as I would try to ignore it, the signs of it were everywhere, right? You go in stores, you go in Hobby Lobby in July, and they've got Christmas stuff everywhere down the aisles. You just know it's coming, and you can't get away from it. And I felt so guilty inside, especially as being a Christian. I kept thinking, like, why am I so bothered by Christmas when it's Jesus's birthday? I feel like a horrible person for feeling like inside, I don't like Christmas. I don't want anything to do with Christmas. And I didn't know what was causing that. Even when I did figure out what the root cause of these feelings were, I didn't know how to stop them. I didn't know how to find a way to enjoy the holiday season. Even with having a family, I thought, once I'm married and I have family, I'm gonna feel better. Once I have a baby and we get to do Christmas and do presents and the whole thing for them, I'm gonna feel better. But each time I would get that thing that I thought was gonna fill that void and thought was gonna fix it, it actually just added to those feelings, because on the outside I'm trying to pretend like I'm fine for everyone else, but on the inside I'm secretly just dying or wishing I could, there were several very, very dark seasons that I went through where I was even suicidal. Thanksgiving and Christmas before our wedding. And I actually tried to commit suicide. And it didn't work, obviously. Thank God I am still here. And I couldn't say that at the time. I was not happy I was still there or still here. But I am thankful now that I am. But man, there have been very dark seasons. The longer you wear a mask and the longer you pretend, I feel like the more of a pit you dig inside your soul. Just not having any peace or true happiness for yourself, not having that feeling of joy. I had so much hurt, pain from loss. My husband and I have walked through secondary infertility, and we've also lost 3 babies. And I want to say that all of those losses, or 2 of those, they coincided with the holidays. And that just amplified all the pain that I was already walking through. And I didn't know how to handle that. And it added to problems not only in my marriage, but in our extended families, because I just didn't act the same. And the expectations that were put on us to show up and be present and just move on like nothing happened, I just couldn't do. I've had a lot of people tell me over the years when I've told them that the holidays are really hard or really painful, and I've got some really bad negative memories attached to them. I've had them listen, and out of care and love, they've said something along the lines of, you know, I'm sorry your past was so bad, and I can understand why you have bad or negative feelings attached to Christmas, but why not focus on making new memories, making new, good, positive memories? And if you are somebody that struggles with PTSD or maybe even anxiety, that is easier said than done, and honestly not really realistic. Because if you do have PTSD and you do have flashbacks, those flashbacks transport you back into the past in your present. It's like bringing the past right to you in that current moment. So even if you are finding a little spark of happiness or joy, it can just take it away in an instant. And it is so unfair that it does that. It is a cruel thing to live with. I did really struggle, though, aside from just PTSD and the flashbacks. I had so much anxiety, a lot of social anxiety. Now, first, let me just also say that you can have anxiety when it comes to being in groups with, or feel uncomfortable being in a group, whether you have trauma or you live with anxiety or any of the things, because I think it's called being an introvert. I very much am an introvert. I do not prefer parties. I don't like large groups of people. My kind of social setting or preferred social setting would be meeting with 1 or 2 friends or family members. I like having that one-on-one time and connecting with people, but I feel overwhelmed when I'm in a large group, regardless of the past bad. Prior to that, I never did like large groups, and you might be somebody that's how you feel. And so maybe the thought of going to a large Christmas party feels a little overwhelming to you, feels uncomfortable. That's totally normal. But when you have that feeling and you are somebody that is an introvert and you've been through abuse and you have anxiety and you have PTSD, that can just make it even harder. It just amplifies all of those feelings. For me, it was really uncomfortable to go around a large group of people and try to make small talk, especially with people that didn't really know me. They didn't know my story, and I kept a tight rein on my story for many years. I didn't really share with a lot of people about the abuse from my past, abandonment of family. There were just so many subjects for me that were just off limits, like, why did you move here? How did you end up here? Like, tell us your story. Tell us about yourself. What's your family like? You know, are you going to see them next? Like, there were just so many like hot topics that I just didn't want to touch and didn't know how to answer. And I felt like, aside from talking about the weather, I don't know, I just didn't want to share my life, because you share one little piece, one thing leads to another thing, leads to the next topic, and then, yeah, I don't know, I feel like people can visibly see some red flags, or at least that's what I told myself in my head, that if I say that sounds weird, and then, yeah, I don't know, it was just really hard for me. That just amplified the social anxiety. Not wanting to be around large groups was, yeah, it's just really difficult to make small talk. And also when you get different personalities, like my husband's family was very, very extroverted, in your face, would make fun of you publicly, like would criticize you in front of everyone or call you out about something, and they might do it as a joke, and to them it would be funny, but for me it would be so uncomfortable, so hurtful, and just make me not want to be there even more. Like, the shy person, you don't want to be the shy person in that family, because they want to make you into an extrovert, and they'll do anything to put you on the spot, and just, yeah, it felt like torture. And it somewhat was. It was just like collecting baggage through the years. It was like I was handed a new suitcase or a new trash bag to hold every year. Like, the weight was just so heavy. Like, I just can't even describe, like, holding the weight of abuse on my shoulders, and then abandonment, and then all the hurtful comments from people that didn't know what happened and made assumptions about me. I remember someone in my husband's family just saying, well, she hates family. She doesn't like family. And clearly she wants to keep you from yours. And like, all I wanted was my family. That was not true. There are so many just lies that piled up, and that I started to believe and just accept as truth, because I didn't feel like I could fight back when I heard those lies, because fighting back means you have to share the truth. And sometimes when I did share the truth, I shared it with the wrong person, and those words would just, they would take what was so sensitive and just find a way to hurt me even more. For many years of my life, I didn't have any of my family, and that was really hard. That was very hard. And to see everybody else with their families in a time of year where it is just preached, or almost like an expectation, that during Christmas you're just supposed to drop everything and you're supposed to be with your family. And it can be so lonely when you are somebody that doesn't have your family. And even when you're joining somebody else's family, like after I was married, I felt the expectation was put on me that because I didn't have my family, that it was expected that we be at all their family events. That wasn't right, because I should have been allowed split time, right? Like when you're married, and typically you have time to go over to the wife's family's house and then the husband's family house, but because I didn't have mine, it was expected that all of his were on the table. They added to a lot of holiday trauma for me. I already had a bad taste in my mouth for Christmas and the holidays, but feeling like I had no rights and being forced into doing things I didn't want to do was not a comfortable feeling. Basically, I allowed people to keep piling more hurts and more trauma onto me because I didn't have any boundaries set, and my self-esteem was just tanking. I just didn't have any self-worth. I didn't see myself as having any value. Like, I didn't deserve time on my own to make my own traditions or do things I enjoy to make the holidays enjoyable for me. And it wasn't until doing a lot of work with Jesus and seeing who I am in Christ and seeing how God views me and knowing God and how loving He is and how much He cares. And I love the verse that says that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted, and that is so true. I did not know at the time when I was experiencing all these bad things, I did not know that God was present in those moments, that God was trying to get my attention in those moments, and He was trying to help me and trying to make me understand that I was not alone, that He was right there, and trying to even get me out of really bad situations. I just wasn't seeing the signs. I didn't know any of this really until I had just switched counselors, and I went to a really not so good counselor. All the things that you want to avoid when finding a counselor, this was that person. Like, she was on her cell phone the whole time during the thing, not even listening to me. Like, I could have talked about anything and I don't think she would have known. And I'm just thinking, why did I pay for this session? And so it was there that I was like, okay, I have tried everything and I'm tired of finding new people to go retell my story to, because you know how you got to build a history so they understand where you're coming from, so they know how to help you in your present life. Like, it is important to know where your anxiety stems from, or worry or fear. I get that they need to know those things, but I decided I was going to make effort to meet with the great counselor. I met with God every week and decided I was going to just lay everything out on the tables, like just all the hurt, all the baggage, so we were just going to sort through it together. And I didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't know at the time, like, is this going to work? Am I going to come out of this? Am I just going to sink in all the trash that I've been, this mountain of trash that I'm trying to climb? It kind of felt like I was just going to fall in and be buried alive. And God did not allow that to happen. God met me when I showed up, and He taught me new things every week. And I took everything that I was learning and I documented everything. I wrote in my journals more than I'd ever written before. And I went through this whole process, and it just built up my confidence in who God was, my confidence in who I was. And knowing those things, I expected to be treated better by people because I had worth and I knew I had value, and I just didn't take people's crap as much. I also learned who the enemy is, who Satan is. I think he was coming after me hard because somebody who has been through so much can relate to so many people. And their story has power. Sharing your story has power. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. If you have a story to tell, you should tell it in some way, shape, or form. That's for somebody. Anyways, I feel like he was coming after me because, you know, if he could take me out, then maybe it would keep me from talking about God to other people and what He's done for me. And I learned how He works, and by learning His tactics, I knew how to come and fight back. I knew how to know and recognize the lies He was whispering into my ear, and I knew God's truth, and I was able to throw it right back at Him and renounce every lie that came my way. But even better than that, I was able to actually understand what it meant to renew my mind. And it was once I reached that part that I really began to see change. And after working through this for years with God, this was a long process as I was learning it. It was like a light switch flipped on, and all the darkness that had been in the many rooms of my house, we'll call it, that I had opened every door, and it was like God's light filled everything. And the nightmares stopped, and the flashbacks stopped, and all of that bad, deeply rooted trauma was getting pulled out by its roots, and it wasn't there anymore. And I was able to have peace for the first time like I had never felt before, ever. I felt freedom to be and do what God had called me to do with my life. And I didn't even understand truly knowing what he was calling me to do until I started cleaning out the crud and not doing it myself. There's many programs that I've been a part of, and like I said, I had good experiences, but it didn't get rid of the PTSD. It didn't do anything other than like help me acknowledge that those things happened, help me with some areas of forgiveness and things like that, but it didn't heal the hurt. It really didn't allow God into those areas to really make true change. So now I have taken all that I learned during that season that I was walking through with God. I've packaged it up in a program called Renewed, Let Peace Reign. And this is so exciting for me because this is going to be starting in January 15th, 2025. Renewed is launching. And I want to extend the offer to any ladies who are watching. If you're above 18 years old and you're struggling in the same ways that I described, if you've gone through anxiety, worry, fear, loss, abuse, trauma, PTSD, all those things, or you just feel like you don't know how to hear God's voice and you don't know how to find that deep connection with him, and you lack self-confidence, then Renewed is for you. I can't think of a better time to make a decision like this for yourself, to choose to join Renewed in the new year. You can get a brand new start, clean slate, to just start over and work on you. I know that the holidays are coming up and there's nothing I can do to stop them or slow them down for you or take away the pain that you might be walking through or the trauma that is just feeling overwhelming. But there is hope right around the corner. And I don't want you to miss this opportunity, because once this group starts, it's going to be a closed group. So you won't be able to join until the next session starts. If you are the person that is living in complete struggle, fear, or any anxiety with the holidays coming up, let me tell you, you are not alone. I have been there. I get it. And if nobody else around you understands, then maybe you need to take a break from those people. Maybe the best thing you can do for you is to say, you know what? This year, I'm going to pass on going to the holiday party. It doesn't matter if they're family. It doesn't matter if it's your husband's family or you just have this expectation on you. You are your own person, and only you know what your mental health and emotional state, physical well-being, all of it. You're in charge of that. And maybe you haven't been in the past, and maybe you felt like you didn't have the ability to say no. Let me be the one to give you permission. It's okay to say no sometimes, and sometimes we need to. Maybe your family isn't safe to be around, or maybe on the flip side, maybe you don't have anywhere to go for Christmas and you're just feeling really lonely and not connected with anyone. Don't sit in that loneliness. Don't stay there. God is with you, but He doesn't want you to be alone. Join Renewed today. Head over to the website, sign up, talk to me in the comments, get talking to somebody today. Don't stay in that season of loneliness. Loneliness really is a choice. As much as we don't want to believe that, it is hard to take that first step and get off our couch and actually make effort to talk to somebody. But the good news is, with Renewed, you don't even have to leave your house because it's an online group and we're going to meet virtually, but there's video lessons, there's journal assignments, there's so much that you could be working on. And all of that can be available to you on January 1st if you sign up for Renewed now. The lessons are going to be available, and then the first group where we meet virtually is going to be on January 15th. You're not going to want to miss it. So ladies, head on over to the website right now, give this video a thumbs up, and definitely hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. And until next time, let me wish you Merry Christmas, and I look forward to chasing more rainbows with you next time. Bye-bye for now.